Latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show coming at you as I love to do every weekday afternoon from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over the airwaves of Sirius XM, Mad Dog Sports Radio. The number to call up as always is 888 Mad Dog 6. That's 888-623-3646. If I'm sounding a little strange with my voice, my delivery, I'll explain that a little bit later on in the show. Got a jam-packed show coming your way today. Mark Schleff on the show. Teddy Bruschi will be on the show to talk to us, NFL analyst for ESPN, and, of course, our resident handicapper out of Vegas, R.J. Bell. He'll be on with us in the 2 o'clock hour. We'll get into a lot of the NFL games, the slew of NFL games scheduled to take place on a docket this Sunday, actually Saturday. The Miami Dolphins play the New York Jets Monday night. Carolina Panthers visit Josh Norman and the Washington Redskins, and in between, there are a slew of NFL games we will get into as the show progresses today, but you have to take a moment to talk about Craig Sager. Craig Sager, for those of you who don't know, can't imagine you don't, but if you're a sports fan, you know who I'm talking about. You're talking about a man that has been a sideline reporter for TNT for ages. You're talking about a man that was known for his eccentric, wear and, wardrobe and all of this other stuff. You're also talking about a man that is one of the most courageous, or that was one of the most courageous individuals we've seen in quite some time, battling leukemia the way that he did before that battle was lost yesterday afternoon. Craig Sager of TNT passed away at the age of 65. Props to TNT for doing an outstanding job they did with their coverage last night with Barkley and Shaq and Kenny Smith and KG and Chris Webber and the crew. And, of course, the great Ernie Johnson spoke very glowingly about his colleague and friend and somebody who's an inspiration, Ernie Johnson, who's also had his bouts with cancer. Craig Sager touched a lot of lives. And as I said on First Take on ESPN2 this morning, last time I saw Craig Sager was the first time in his illustrious career that he was ever allowed to cover an NBA Finals game. He had never covered the NBA Finals before because working for TNT, they have rights to one of the conference finals. They have rights to the regular season games, but rights to the NBA Finals are owned by ESPN/ABC, and prior to that, it was NBC, and so Craig Sager never had the pleasure of covering an NBA Finals game until Game 6 of last June's NBA Finals. I remember him walking around the arena and people wanting to take pictures with him, swamping him with requests for pictures. I remember the standing ovation that the crowd gave to him when the PA announcer, announced to everybody that he was in the building and that he would be covering this game for the first time, the finals rather, an NBA Finals game for the first time in his career. And I remember how I chuckled because he walked up to me and said to me, "You really, really look good. I really love what you're wearing." I had to do a double take and say, what the hell is wrong with my outfit? Because Craig Sager wore some of the most bizarre outfits you could ever imagine. Like Kobe Bryant said on Mike and Mike this morning on ESPN, you wanted to see Craig Sager because you wanted to see what he'd have on next. Players like Shaquille O'Neal and others said the same thing in remembrance of him. But his speech at the ESPYs, where he talked about life, and life's about living every single day, enjoying life to the fullest. And he was somebody that epitomized that. And Charles Barkley, to me, was very profound in his statements about Craig Sager when he said that he never met anyone who loved living more than Craig Sager. Perhaps that's the irony with his passing. Perhaps that's the cruelty in it all. Because to those with whom life is so valuable, who treat it as such, that appreciates God's gift, which is the breath of life, better than most of us could ever hope to, somehow, some way, end up leaving us far too soon. My closing remarks, my final take on First Take today. I brought up the name Stuart Scott, who had passed away on January 4th, 2015. I brought up the name John Saunders, who, unlike Craig Sager, unlike Stuart Scott, had not died of cancer, but nevertheless passed away on August 10th of this past year. And knowing those two far more intimately than I ever knew Craig Sager, even though I saw Craig Sager all the time at games, I just couldn't say, and I just can't say enough about how a John Saunders of the world, how a Stuart Scott of the world valued life so much. And working with them in this industry, recognizing that we get paid to basically be kids, to do a job that kids would love to do. The blessings that we've received just by virtue of being able to do this job every single day. Let's face it, it's something that we take for granted far too often. We come to work, we think about the hours that we have to labor. We think about the pressure of having to perform. We think about so many things that ultimately dissipate and diminish our spirit, that we don't take time to fall back nearly as much as we should, to fall back, reflect, and truly contemplate and stomach how truly blessed and fortunate we are. Games are things we'd be watching recreationally in our own time. The very games that we cover and we get to go to for free and we get to come pontificate about back and forth are things that others in this nation of ours and throughout this world pay to do. We get to do it for free. We get to get paid for it. And more importantly, because we have cameras and microphones and pens, we actually have the luxury of being able to impact millions upon millions upon millions of lives. And I thought about Craig Sager and his passing yesterday, and I said, I can't think of one time that I was working in an arena with him where I was standing next to him or talking to him for a few minutes, exchanging pleasantries or whatever. I can't think of one single time that I looked at that man and did not see somebody who was genuinely ecstatic to be doing what he was doing. Incredibly grateful to be doing what he was doing. And loving people along the way. That ain't easy, ladies and gentlemen. You got people who will heckle you. You got people who will come at you. You got people who will make fun of you. You got people who will criticize you. You got people who will come at you with all sorts of nonsense. And it happens all the time. And if you're somebody like me, you're always ready for a fight, verbally or otherwise. It's never Craig Sager. Always pleasant. His core decency never faded. And he meant so much to this industry and so much to people that I love. I've been covering the NBA for 20 years. I've been a journalist for 25. And I got to tell you something right now. Almost 25, I'm sorry. And I got to tell you something. I got to cover this league. I got to call it like I see it. But I got a lot of friends in the NBA. Most of whom I genuinely love. I know them on a personal level. I know them as people. I know them as fathers, as sons, as brothers, as professionals. As I said, they're some of the best people that I've ever met in my life. And to put the passing of great Craig Sager into perspective, not one of you, not one of them, I'm sorry, would walk up to any of you or any of us and even attempt to imply that they were better people than a Craig Sager, than a Stuart Scott, than a John Saunders. They wouldn't even think it. And I reflect on it. I reflected on that so much yesterday because if I can get personal for a second, one of the things that touches me the most doing this show on these airwaves with you, the listener, is that there isn't a day that goes by that some of y'all don't call up to express your well wishes to my mama. I don't talk about it much, but with my mother's permission, I let y'all know months ago. My mother's been battling cancer for quite some time. And she fights every day. Some days she looks weaker than others. And some days the hardest thing in the world for me to do is to come across strong when I just want to wilt and fold and fall and cuddle someplace with myself just because I can't stand seeing what she's going through. But her spirit is always greater than mine, always stronger than mine. And that's what I remembered when I thought about the last time I saw Craig Sager. Somehow, some way, when I last saw Stuart Scott, it was the same thing. Craig Sager, the same thing. I saw the same thing that I saw in my mother, that I still see in my mother. Thank God she's still here. And I see in so many people battling against this disease known as cancer that has taken so many from us, but we still fight on. And we fight on because they encourage us to do so. They show us that by their willingness to fight, who are we to give up? By their willingness to be grateful for life and thankful for it and show it and put it on display every single day, who are we to do otherwise? And on a day like today, in the sports world, I think it's important that we think like that. Steve Kerr was phenomenal yesterday. Phenomenal last night. He spoke heartfelt words about his friend and colleague, Craig Sager, who he worked at TNT with. Talked about the man he was, the husband, the father, the reporter, overall the decent, good human being that he was. And rather than take yet another moment to mourn with a moment of silence instead, what he did was, he said, let's give him a round of applause because that's the way he lived his life and that's what he would have wanted. Steve Kerr was absolutely right. With the words that he expressed, I don't need to say any more other than this. Craig Sager, gone at the age of 65. He has left us far too soon, but he will never, ever be forgotten. You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith. Past hour number 1, back here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, Sirius XM, Mad Dog Sports Radio, 888 Mad Dog 6 is always the number to call up. That's 888-623-3646. Before I get to the phones, a couple of things that we might want to get into here, okay? We got a couple of NFL games coming up. Can't ignore those. Definitely got to touch on those because it's a few games to touch on. We got Philly playing the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. Can Cleveland win the game finally and beat the Buffalo Bills? Green Bay, they're going to handle their business against Chicago. What about Pittsburgh and Antonio Brown seeing Vontaze Burfict for the first time this year? Jacksonville and Houston going up against one another. Tennessee, have they arrived? I think they're going to win the AFC South. They're going up against Kansas City. here in Indy, Minnesota, but Detroit and the New York Giants might be the game of the day. New Orleans versus Arizona, San Francisco versus Atlanta, New England, 4:25 game Eastern Standard Time. Going up against the Denver Broncos in the Mile High City. Oakland, San Diego could be interesting too. And of course, Tampa versus Dallas in Dallas, Sunday Night Football. All of those games are games that we can talk about. Who you think's going to win, why, who you think's going to lose, why, what are the storylines you want to touch. But right now, we can't avoid talking about Richard Sherman. Because Richard Sherman and the Seattle Seahawks trounced a relatively inept Los Angeles Rams team who showed up on the field last night and all but validated why Jeff Fisher's no longer the coach. And in the process of doing so, Richard Sherman went ballistic. He made news because he concussed quarterback Jared Goff, who was silly enough not to get out of bounds. But then it got taken a step further because Richard Sherman, when Seattle went for it on a 4th and 1 play, he got in the face of the offensive coordinator, said something to Pete Carroll, and then told reporters why after the game he felt that way and how he felt that he wasn't wrong at all. Listen to Richard Sherman.
You got a little fired up on the sidelines for Booth Fest. Who were you, John, with, and what were y'all discussing?
I don't like when we throw the ball at the 1. We threw an interception at the 1. Luckily it went incomplete, and I wasn't going to let them continue to do that.
Were you having that chat with Bevel, or who were you?
I was letting Pete know.
Oh, you were. Oh.
Yeah, I was making sure Pete knew that we're not comfortable with you throwing the ball at the 1.
And how'd that go for you?
It went great. They ran the ball the next play. It got stuffed, and then they figured out a way to get in the end zone.
There's a head coaching position available.
Hey, come on now. I'm always available. Make sure the pay is right.
Richard Sherman went off. He's going off on the sideline. Here's the deal. You got a lot of people that think that Richard Sherman's out of control. He's a defensive player. Mind your business. What are you concerned about with what the offense is doing? Blah, 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 blah. Why don't you concern yourself with the other 2 cornerbacks you got on the field with you that can't cover anybody? Blah, 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 blah. I'm here to tell you normally you would be absolutely positively right. Here's the problem. I think a special pass should be given to Richard Sherman and any member of that defense that were members of the Seattle Seahawks when Pete Carroll blew that Super Bowl against the New England Patriots by not giving Marshawn Lynch the ball from the half-yard line a couple of years ago. See, the residual impact of that cannot be ignored. Because if the Seattle Seahawks win that game, they're 2-time Super Bowl champions. There's nothing to talk about. There was something to talk about because Pete Carroll and those boys blew the game by making what I call the stupidest call in NFL history. And I like Pete Carroll, but that call was damn near unforgivable. Unforgivable. And for those of you wondering while I'm mumbling a little bit, man, it's going to be a while. I got to get adjusted to it. I've been grinding my teeth in my sleep for years because, I don't know why. And I damn near shattered some of my lower teeth because of it, grinding my teeth in my sleep. So I actually am wearing braces for the first time in my life. So please forgive me. I did it to myself. I deserve it. I'll come out looking better than ever, maybe in about a year or so. But damn it, right now, I'm different. Work with me. I just had them put on last night. Point that I'm trying to make to you, back to football, is that Richard Sherman brought it. Pete Carroll and that stuff, they brought that on themselves. I can't blame Richard Sherman for feeling the way that he feels. I can't blame him for speaking up the way that he did. Damn that. We trying to win the Super Bowl. I don't blame him one bit for saying there's no way in hell I'm going to let you do this again. I don't blame him. I don't blame him. Trying to win the Super Bowl, man. We don't need calls like that. How can y'all blame him for that? I can't. That's all I'm trying to say. I totally understand where Richard Sherman is coming from. And I don't blame him one bit. Get the one y'all on, what the hell you calling that play for? And by the way, the other thing he got on them about, why are you endangering your kicker who ended up getting damn near concussed, if I remember correctly, because he got popped upside his head because you got a 20-point lead and trying to throw a fake punt? Why? Why would you do that? See, these are the kind of questions they're asking because these are the kind of things that contribute to you losing. And that ain't going to work. So I don't blame Richard Sherman for doing that. They got a free spirit on that team. You know, he lets those guys speak their mind, et cetera, et cetera. That's how it goes. All right, fine. I really don't have a problem with it. And I don't blame Richard Sherman for speaking up one bit. Damn that. Can't have this going on. Just can't have it. It's just that simple. 888 Mad Dog 6 is always the number to call up. This 888-623-3646. That's the way it is. That's the way it's going to be. That's the way it's going to stay. I hope Richard Sherman and them don't change. Because you just can't afford that, y'all. You just can't afford it. And everybody needs to recognize that. 888 Mad Dog 6 is always the number to call up. It's 888-623-3646. Quasi in Oakland. You're live with Stephen A. What's up?
What's going on? How you doing, Stephen A?
I'm good. Talk to me, man.
Yeah, I was just touching base on Craig Sager, man. I was touched by that yesterday, man, and you know I know what you're going through, man. I lost my mom of pancreatic cancer, man, day after Mother's Day about 14 years ago, man.
Quasi, you told me that months ago, bro. I remember that. You told me that months ago.
Yeah, and then, you know, I have a cousin, man. We want to say our goodbyes. He has the same cancer as Stuart Scott, and he's 42, man. And it just, you know, like I agree with you, man. You know, we got to, you know, just live our life the best way possible because at the end of the day, you know, cancer is not racist, man. That's why, you know, racist to me is the most stupid and prejudiced thing stupid on earth. You know, sickness don't care what color, what creed or background, you know, and I just think that, you know, there's just a lot going on, man, but I pray for his family, man. But let me get on the Seahawks, man. I'm a Seahawks fan. I've been a Seahawks fan, man, since Kurt won a rookie year. And, man, I agree with Richard Sherman, man. It's a long time coming, man. If you notice on Twitter, man, they got a hashtag and a Twitter page, man, to fire Darrell Bevell, man. I don't know how many times, man, that, you know, the offensive line is horrible, man. I don't think in the last 3 years we ran one running back screen, man. I mean, it's just horrible, man. And like I said, to me, I'm a Seahawks fan, to be honest. I think we're going to lose in the first round of the playoffs. Offensive line is weak. Terrell is garbage. Shed is garbage. They're role players. They're not starters, man. And until they get back to do what they need to do as far as drafting and finding them gems in the draft, we just going to be one and done, man, because Russell can't do it on his own, man.
He can't do it on his own, but listen. You don't want to endorse somebody being, you know, insubordinate or anything like that, but I think it's important to point out Richard Sherman and them have every right not to ignore what the hell you did to blow a Super Bowl.
Exactly.
You know, and if you're doing the same thing, they got a right to say, oh, hell with that. No. You ain't doing that to us again. They got a right to do that. They got a right to do that, in my opinion.
And then to piggyback off your call, why was he running a fake punt when we was up? The game was over. Man, that guy almost killed himself. Man, he ain't ran that fast probably his whole life. Man, now his wife on Twitter thanking everybody. Man, I don't understand it, man. I don't understand it, man.
Listen. I don't know what to say about it at all. You can't have this dude out there. Why? That's your kicker. You're going to need him. And that's what Richard Sherman was saying. Why would you have him out there risking himself when we up 21 points? You just got to be smarter than that. I have no problem with Richard Sherman holding them accountable in that regard. I really don't. Appreciate the call, man.
You know, to your
go ahead.
And just stay strong, man. I'm going to keep you and your moms in my prayers, brother.
I appreciate that, my brother. Man. Thank you so much. Same to you and yours, my man. Thank you so much. Mike in Wisconsin, you're live with Stephen A. on Mad Dog. What's up, Mike?
Hey, Stephen. I want to talk about Richard Sherman, or I don't want to talk about the football games. I want to talk about you, Stephen.
Yes, sir.
I've listened to you for years, and I have such a profound respect for you and your perspective on the sports world, but I lost my wife of 34 years. She was my best friend and soulmate to breast cancer, and I really am truthfully making it a point of saying a prayer for your mom and your family. And
thank you so
there's
much,
more to you,
Mike.
Stephen. There's more to you, Stephen, than just a sports analyst. I mean, I've listened to you for years, and there's a lot more to you than I think a lot of people know. And I just really appreciate it. I'm a listener for forever. I just hope you keep it up, Stephen, and just stay strong, okay? And good luck with the braces thing too, okay?
Thanks a lot, Mike, and I appreciate the love. Man, I'm struggling with these braces, but listen, there are worse things to be struggling from, as you and I both know. But I'm going to bet. Listen, my teeth are going to be better. I was grinding and listen, for those out there, wear mouth guards when you go to sleep, because all of us are living in relatively stressful worlds, and I did not protect my teeth, so I grinded and grinded until it got to the point where I couldn't chew out of the right side of my mouth. And now, in order to get it fixed, I got to put on damn braces at age 49.
Hey, you know what, Stephen? You're going to be okay. And that eulogy you gave to Craig Sager today, the opening remarks will be. I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a 68-year-old man, coached for 33 years. I had tears running down my eyes listening to you about this. That was a really nice piece, Stephen.
Well,
nice
he deserves it. He deserves it. Thank you so much. He definitely deserves it.
Yeah, God bless you, Stephen.
God bless you, too. God bless you and your family. You take care. Happy holidays, Mike, and call back anytime. 888 Mad Dog 6 is always the number to call up. That's 888-623-3646. Easy to do a tribute to somebody like that, because Craig Sager deserves it. My heart goes out to his wife, Stacy, his 5 children. Craig Sager Jr., special. Heard him on Mike and Mike this morning. Tribute to his dad on Twitter and beyond. It was special to hear. Special kid. No question about it. Greg Popovich, riveting words about Craig Sager. What can you say? 888 Mad Dog 6 is always the number to call up. That's 888-623-3646. More to Stephen A. Smith Show on Mad Dog Sports Radio in a minute.
Mad Dog Sports Radio. Sports Fight.
The 888 Mad Dog 6 is 888-623-3646. Anthony in Ohio, you're live with Stephen A. What's up, Anthony?
Hey, Stephen A., how's it going?
I'm all right, man. Talk to me.
Yeah, it's my first time calling. I just wanted to say that piece you had on Craig Sager was just top class A1, man. Made me tear up a little bit knowing that you told me that. I didn't know that your mom had cancer or has cancer.
Yes, she does.
Yeah,
she's battling though. She's battling though, and she's doing all right. But thank you for mentioning her.
And you said sometimes you want to wilt, but you just got to be strong, man. I lost three family members to cancer in the past 3 years.
Man.
You got to stay strong, man. That's the best thing you can do for yourself and for them. So
I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much.
But I just want to talk to you about the Raiders.
Go ahead.
I'm an Oakland fan. There's not too many of us over here in Ohio, but I was wondering if you think they're for real, because
I think their offense is for real.
Yeah.
Their defense. My issue with them is their defense. I don't think their defense is for real because I think their secondary is suspect. But their secondary has been playing better, and I think as a result of that, they might be able to get some things done. So I think that's something that's important to remember. They got a shot. They can do some things. So we'll see what happens on that level. But I'm not sold on their defense, and that's my problem.
Yeah, that's exactly the way I feel. I feel like Derek Carr and Amari Cooper and the offensive line has been carrying this team so far. And when they have a bad game, it's not going to look good for us because, yeah, like you said, our defense, our secondary is very suspect. We need at least one good safety and one good corner coming up in the draft. And, I just don't see it this year. There's a difference between having faith in your team and being knowledgeable of the sport, and I just think they're not gonna produce much if we do get in the playoffs. If something bad were to happen in these next couple of weeks.
Listen, everybody been talking about New England. Raiders better watch out for Kansas City. Can't ignore Kansas City. I'm telling you that much. Let me be clear about that. Appreciate the call, though, man. Thank you so much. Let's go to Matt in Virginia. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Matt?
Hey, Stephen A. First off, loyal listener, a huge fan of your show.
Thank you.
Interested about your take on what Rich Sherman did, the fact you don't have a problem with it. My concern is that is part of what you're saying about Sherman not having a problem with what he did because of the player that he is and that he's an all-pro and that he's outspoken, you know.
It's not so much that. It's not so much that. It's that Seattle messed up so badly in the Super Bowl by not giving Beast Mode the balls. I am one who believes that there's still residue from that loss, that folks are looking at Pete Carroll and they were like, you don't make a call in that situation. Not when the play before, Marshawn Lynch ran for 4.5 yards, got the ball down to the half-yard line, and you're a half yard away on second down with a Super Bowl title on the line. That's what I think this is about. I don't think players still have forgiven Pete Carroll for that call. I really don't.
Yeah, and this is, my question is, this is Stephen Hauschka who comes to Pete Carroll and critiquing him. Do you interpret it the same way? Does it matter who it is or more than the message sent?
Well, I think, again, it doesn't matter who it is. It's about the situation. In other words, why are you doing things to jeopardize a Super Bowl title? They're not playing that. Like, leave it to us. Let us go out on the field and do what we're supposed to do. And if somebody stops us, we'll deal with it. But don't you get in the way because you trying to be a brainiac and come across as something extra. That's what Richard Sherman and them are saying. I think that's what the problem is.
Mm-hmm.
That's my belief. I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much. Connie in Houston. You're live with Stephen A. on Mad Dog. Connie, how are you?
Hi, Stephen. How are you?
I'm all right. Thank you for calling. Happy holidays.
This is my first time calling. I'm a little nervous because I have a story to tell you.
Okay.
I'd like you to do me a favor, if you can, in honor of your mother, to make a New Year's resolution to change your outlook on the way you feel about weed. I am a cancer survivor, and I have gone to Denver, and I have experienced. I had to go to Denver because it's about there in California, the only places you can go to get medical marijuana in an oil form. It's in a syringe, and you take it in oil, and it helps people with cancer, like myself. I had a tumor that I looked like I was 9 months pregnant 1 year ago today. The doctor told me I wouldn't be here this year, and I went to Colorado and took the oil, and my tumor has shrunk down to nothing. If you
and what is this?
Medical marijuana.
I'm saying, but you said it's oil. But you said it's oil?
It's oil, yes. And people like your mother, maybe, I don't know if she's on chemo, but it helps
She
people.
She was.
Any side effects that she may have had, pain, constipation, hair loss, you wouldn't believe the stories. You need to, like I said, I'm very emotional about it.
But Connie, let me be clear. I'm not against marijuana use for medicinal purposes. Okay. I was against it. I've never been against it for medicinal purposes. I'm against it recreationally for professional athletes who know it's banned by the professional sports leagues.
I know,
and are jeopardizing their money anyway.
Yeah, that's why I'm telling you, though, if I can just help one person, which you have so much clout, to tell people how much it does help people, even NFL players who are in so much pain, I'm sure, all the time. It's pain management, too. There's so much information in California. Go to Mara Gordon. It's Aunt Zelda's. I just watched a webinar last night for an hour about marijuana and all the ailments and all the people it's helped. It might help your mother. You can take her to California if she's still having side effects.
Well, listen, I can't get into that too much over the air because I don't know what we're allowed to do in that regard. What I would say to you is this, to address 2 points. Number one, I've never been against weed for medicinal purposes, number one. But number two, I do firmly believe that unless you do have a medical condition, if the leagues ban weed use, you as an athlete should not be using it. It's just that simple to me. But for medicinal purposes, absolutely, I'm in complete support of it. And I will tell you, I will look into it. And I thank you for your call, Connie, and please have a wonderful holiday. Let's go to Ronald in Long Island. You're live with Stephen A. on Mad Dog. What's up, Ronald?
Hey, my brother. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for calling. What's up, man?
Hey, look, I don't really even know where to start, but I just want to say that in 1978, I left Long Island, New York, and went to Clark Atlanta University, Clark College back then, and was introduced to Craig Sager in 1978, working for TBS.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been a part of my sports life ever since. So, pretty much endured the fight that Craig gave. And, all I could do last night or all day yesterday was just thank God. You have to thank God for people like him, Muhammad, and all the other greats we've lost, that we were blessed with the opportunity to have them bless their gifts upon us, and I leave it at that. I'm here to, I always clown and call and talk to you about Cowboys, sports, this and that, man, but I just want to say this because, my mother is my crown jewel, just like yours is. And when it comes to athletes and men like yourself who are into sports journalism and a part of our lives in our living rooms, our radios or whatever, to see and hear your human side, in your monologue. I did not know why everybody was calling in and saying what they were saying about your mom. But, to hear you come out and say what you said, for it to be revealed as it was, to see the human side. And people that call in need to understand you're a human being. To come in every day and turn them lights and cameras on and do what you do, you bleed like we bleed. You pretty much put on your pants like we put on our pants. You're a human being. And you know what, Stephen, I'll say this. God bless you. God bless your mom, man. Prayers with her. And, brother, you know what? It's okay if we cry and if we will. But we stand right back up and we be right back there for them, bro. You hang in there. Mom hang in there. And God bless, man.
God bless, man. Appreciate it, Ronnie. Thank you so much. 888 Mad Dog 6 is always the number to call up. That's 888-623-3646. More of your phone calls before Mark Schlereth comes on the show in a minute. It's Stephen A. It's the new reading for millions of Audible members. So it's time you found out what you've been missing. Audible offers an unmatched selection of audiobooks in every genre you can think of. Romances, mysteries, memoirs, and even zombies. That's just to name a few. They're all performed by talented actors and narrators, which takes a lot of people by surprise the first time they listen. It turns listening into a total escape. Try your first audiobook for free by visiting audible.com/Sirius. Access your audiobooks with the simple-to-use Audible app on your smartphone or tablet and immerse yourself in a story anytime, anywhere. At the gym, on your commute, doing laundry, walking the dog. It'll change the way you see free time. All of a sudden, you'll see it as an opportunity to get deeper into the books you love. Audible is an Amazon company, and that means the customer service can't be beat. So if you ever have a question or just want some audiobook recommendations, someone is there to help. Give it a try, risk-free, of course. Start a 30-day trial and experience your first audiobook at no cost to you. Go to Audible. Just go to audible.com/Sirius. 888 Mad Dog 6 is always the number to call up. It's 888-623-3646. I meant Teddy Bruschi will be on the line with us, not Mark Schlereth. He was on early in the week. Teddy Bruschi will be on the top of hour number 2 right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, Sirius XM, Mad Dog Sports Radio. Andre in Arkansas, you're live with Stephen A. What's up, Andre?
Hey, what's good, Stephen A? I just want to, right on. I appreciate you, man, everything you said about, about cancer and everything, but I'm going to let you let that ride, but I want to say to all the people, all the Cowboy fans, even I know you don't need me to back you, but, man, I'm tired of defending you here in Arkansas to these Cowboy fans, man, who always want to deem you a Cowboy hater. It's a difference in being a hater than staying fat.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
I'm both, because I can't stand the Cowboys.
But yeah, I know you don't like them, but I'm just saying, the stuff you say is actual fact. And I'm telling them right now, that's what they doing right now. Like, you totally on the money, Stephen A. Everybody is about the Seattle Seahawks to the game that ball to Marshawn Lynch. But I want to bring up another fact, and this is why I don't feel sorry for them Cowboy fans when they talk about the catch. If you go back to the stats in that game, they couldn't stop DeMarco Murray. The Green Bay Packers could not stop DeMarco Murray, and Romo wasn't doing too hot that game. DeMarco Murray just broke off 30, 40-yard run, put him across the 50. Then they give it to him again. He run 8 more yards, and then they just put the ball in the hands of Tony Romo. And then they want to talk about the catch. It should have never came to that. They couldn't stop DeMarco Murray. Why not
That's
keep
true.
giving it to him?
He was running the ball effectively against Green Bay all afternoon that
All afternoon.
And they decided to throw a pass to Des Bryant
they threw two of them. Yeah.
because they wanted Des Bryant. They wanted Tony Romo to be the hero.
Tony Romo. That's
just
right.
like
You
just like
doggone right.
Seattle wanted
all.
Russell Wilson to be the hero.
That's right. You right on the money there. But people slide that out. You know what I'm saying? I tell the Cowboys fans they don't want to think about that because they stay to talk about the catch and how Romo could have took them to the promised land then. I said they should have never came to that. They should have kept running Murray just like Seattle should have kept running Marshawn. They did that because they're trying to get assigned to the wrong person instead of going with the flow of the game and taking the victory. Just like you said there, accident waiting to happen. That's what they're doing to Dak right now. There's no reason Dak shouldn't be getting all the credit and shine from all of them. You know what I'm saying? That's all I want to say, Steve.
Dre, I got to run. I appreciate the call. You're right. Ain't no doubt about it. Let's go to RJ in Toronto. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, RJ?
Hey, Stephen A. How are you today, buddy?
I'm great. Thank you for calling. What's up?
Good. Hey, I got to acknowledge right off the bat, I didn't get to hear the monologue today. It's tough to always catch your show, but I got to tell you, I'm listening in. I'm listening to your callers, and, man, you got some great callers. And I lost my dad to cancer about 3 years ago. I went to a funeral last week. A buddy of mine, close to him, his dad, same thing. I'm 46, you're 49, same vintage. My point is to this. We take time as sports fans. We call in, we talk about Richard Sherman, we talk about LeBron, we complain about Jeff Fisher. Take the time, pick up the phone, call somebody today. Call a family member, reconnect. You don't have to wait till it's too late.
Hey, RJ, how are you doing, man? How are you doing?
Tough.
Yeah.
But it's a good tough. It's good memories. And I just want you to know you're doing a damn good job. Keep it up.
Well, we're all here for you, man. Call back anytime. All right, buddy? Stay in touch. Appreciate you, RJ. RJ in Toronto. Lost his dad. Craig Sager's passing, no doubt, has brought back a lot of painful memories for a lot of people who've lost loved ones to cancer. I get exactly where he's coming from. I understand. Henry in Chicago, you're live with Stephen A. Mad Dog. What's up, Henry?
How you doing, man? You know, I want to share something with you regarding Richard Sherman. We need to be careful sometimes. There is an out of bounds. As outspoken as you are, you never publicly attack management. Okay? So while Richard Sherman's statement may have been good, I think he made a mistake and should not have gone public with that. And I think we need to let him know that there are limits to freedom of speech unless you're prepared to pay the consequences. I remember when you first came on the air. I remember you disappearing for a while. I remember when you came back. Stephen A. had grown up and learned some things. And Stephen A. today, he will say a lot of things, but he'll let you know right off the bat. No, I ain't the boss. And you just made a statement with the lady. I cannot discuss this any further because I don't know what the rules are regarding this. So I think what I'm trying to say, Stephen, because you have an audience and because you have established that you can discuss things beyond football, baseball, basketball, and sports, we ask you to be a little more careful with some of these athletes because you know and I know you keep speaking out like that and biting the hand that feeds you, you're going to find yourself looking for a job. So I just wanted to share that with you and your audience. Richard Sherman needs to slow his roll. He's intelligent, he's outspoken, but he can be replaced. That's all I'm saying.
That's fair. That's fair, Henry. And I'm usually consistent with that position. So what you did was call up and point out how I was inconsistent because I was speaking up for Richard Sherman in terms of what he did last night. I appreciate the point. I appreciate the call. You're absolutely right. I was wrong. My apologies. I'll watch out for that in the future. That's a very, very good point by you, Henry. No doubt about it. Because if you keep speaking up to bosses and you ain't the ones that cut the check, you are expendable. That's a great, great point by Henry. He's absolutely right. 888 Mad Dog 6 is always the number to call. 6 is always the number to call up. That's 623-3646. Always my honor and privilege to have my next guest on the line, my colleague at ESPN, 3-time Super Bowl champion with the New England Patriots, the one and only. Teddy Bruschi's on the line with us right now. What's going on, Big Tom? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Stephen A. Thank you for having me on. This is a good time of year, good football time of year. These weeks 15, 16, 17, when you really start to figure out who you got now as football teams.
No question about it. Let me ask you this question. How do you feel about the Seattle Seahawks? And when I ask that question, I'm not just talking about their record. I'm not just talking about the fact that they got the NFC West. I get all of that. What I'm talking about is what you see in terms of Richard Sherman getting on offensive coordinators and head coaches, some of the acrimony, some of the friction that has existed. What are your thoughts about everything that you see aesthetically, not just on a football field, but aesthetically happening with the Seattle Seahawks right now?
Yeah, they do have a couple boisterous players, outspoken players, Richard Sherman, Doug Baldwin, guys that like to speak their mind. I have nothing against that. In terms of Richard Sherman having a problem with the Thursday night games, that prompted a lot of discussion, and part of the arguments that he had, I agreed with him. I thought he took it too far yesterday after the game, because this is what happens on the sideline, Stephen A. I was told a long time ago by my former defensive coordinator, Romeo Crennel, who's now the defensive coordinator in Houston, it gets emotionally heated on the sideline. Words are said. Confrontations happen. I remember on the sideline myself, Mike Vrabel having arguments with Charlie Weiss and offensive coaches about why you throwing the ball so much, start running the football, and it got heated. But what Romeo always told us was, don't take it personal. Don't take it personal what happens on the sideline. Words are going to be said. Players, certain players, like a Richard Sherman, you have the right to voice your opinion. You have the right to disagree on the sideline. All right, don't take it personal. You always knew that. But there's also a rule, don't take it to the media. So when he sits down in front of his locker and starts addressing what happened on the sideline and telling them exactly what he was doing and bringing up a Super Bowl failure in which we all know about. I mean, not only pouring salt on a wound there, but you're bringing up old failures. You're calling out your coaching staff in front of the media. That's where he took it so far. A lot of it I agree with. I don't mind him being outspoken. I think you can speak your mind. But you can't take those type of conversations, those type of confrontations, and then speak of them jovially like he was doing. That's where I thought he crossed the line. And now you open your coaches for criticism. So you've almost opened the door to where now people can start attacking them because, well, even the players attacked them on the sidelines. They attacked them in front of the media. So now it sends out a message of almost discontent that's happened in the locker room. This is something I think they need to fix, Stephen A.
Teddy Bruschi right here with Stephen A. SiriusXM Mad Dog Sports Radio. Do you still feel as presently constructed, and by that I mean their talent, their attitude, and everything that comes with it, do you believe that the Seattle Seahawks can represent the NFC in the Super Bowl as presently constructed?
The answer is yes. And I'll tell you why. Because right now the NFC is a jump ball. And to use a basketball analogy, you throw that ball up in the air and whoever goes up and gets it, that's who it's going to be. Because every single team, I believe, has a fatal flaw. Do the Dallas Cowboys star rookies, Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott, start looking like rookies? All right, Detroit, is Matthew Stafford's finger? Is it okay? Detroit can't get after the passer. Okay, other teams, the New York Giants. Does Eli Manning get bored and throw 4 interceptions in one game and the season's over? Every single team, the Seattle Seahawks, the offensive line, they can't get anything going in the running game, but they have other advantages. They have a defense with a bunch of playmakers on it and a quarterback that can make up for a deficient offensive line. You don't want him running for his life every single play. It seems like that's happening sometimes, but Russell can still be the guy to carry that team. I'd like to see Jimmy Graham get going a little more. Doug Baldwin is a gamer. But yes, the Seattle Seahawks, they have just as much a chance as any other team in that NFC because I really feel like it's a jump ball.
I'm kind of surprised that you said that based on their running game or lack thereof. They don't have a running game to speak of, and I'm wondering how much of a detriment do you think that could end up being to everything they're trying to accomplish?
Then all of a sudden you have a game where, no, they cannot get the run going, just like last night. Multiple tackles for loss, penetration into the line of scrimmage, so they have to pass it so much more, and Russell Wilson ends up rushing for 75 yards in a game down the stretch. Is that possible for them to do in the playoffs? Absolutely. I'm just starting to see as this season goes on, especially the way that the Denver Broncos won the Super Bowl last year. If you cover up your mistakes in maybe a 1, 2, 3, 4 week fashion in a row, you can cover up those problems that you have and just fake it for a month and get hot. It's possible. And Seattle has the veteran type championship players, I think, that can do that almost more than I can trust on other teams. Pete Carroll being the veteran coach that he is, they know what it's like to win Super Bowls. They know what it's like to lose Super Bowls. I do think I have this picture in my mind of Richard Sherman earlier this year coming out with the pouty face onto the sideline, the entire Seattle Seahawks team jumping up around him, trying to get him going on the same page. I remember that game. That's in this team to be together. I still think this is a together team, the team that is on the same goal. And once they get through these Richard Sherman comments again, they'll probably come through it and use it as motivation. But this is a team that can get hot also.
Why not mention the New York Giants, since the best team in the NFC thus far this season has been the Dallas Cowboys, and the only 2 losses they have are to the New York Giants?
Yeah, I was just on SportsCenter earlier today. They told me to who's the best team in the NFC, and I did say the New York Giants, and I put Dallas at 2, and I put the Giants up there because of the way their defense is playing. Very rare for draft picks, free agent signings, spend a lot of money in the offseason, but they all start gelling together at the right time here in mid to late December where the defense is really playing well. And it's just how much I respect the ability and explosiveness of Odell Beckham Jr. And Eli Manning, he can get bored and throw those interceptions, but as long as they have that threat of Odell Beckham Jr. that can take the slant and do what he did last week, that's always there. And it'll always affect the way defenses play them. But you see, I'm referencing this over and over again. What teams can get hot? Who can do it? Can the New York Giants do it? And I think, yes, they've shown it before. I've been a victim of it. Believe me, I've seen it in person. So I do believe the Giants definitely are the class of the NFC based on beating the Cowboys twice this year, on the improvement of the defense and the weapons they have offensively.
There are others who believe that the Green Bay Packers are now a team to be reckoned with, that they've righted their ship, that they've got that bad man that is Aaron Rodgers, and all things are well. Where are you on Green Bay?
This is the quarterback injury I'm most concerned with. Finger's one thing, with Stafford. Carr had the finger injury. Is that going to affect them also? Yes, but the calf, the leg, the muscle soreness, the inability of Aaron Rodgers to have an explosive burst. That worries me because every single throw is almost an explosive burst for him. The way he uses his legs, the way he throws airborne from the pocket, how he'll just flip the hips and both of his feet are off the ground with a clean pocket. It's almost like he's not scrambling, but he's still being explosive lower body-wise to throw the football. If that calf, that muscle injury is something that hinders that, that's what greatly concerns me. And still at the linebacker position, the poor play that's been there, the shuffling, Clay Matthews on the outside, Clay Matthews on the inside, Ryan, Martinez, not being able to get it done there. Those are my concerns with Green Bay. Are they a team that can get hot? Maybe, but I put them lower. I put them down the line in terms of who I really feel are set up to do that.
Eddie Bruschi, we've talked on several occasions this year. Do you realize that no time have we mentioned the Detroit Lions? Why is that?
Yes. Yes. It seems like they just never come up in the conversation, and I don't know if they mind that so much because this is what happens early on in the season. All right, you're a team like the Detroit Lions, and you have to come back in the fourth quarter over and over and over again, and people see that as they can't put together a full game, and they're getting lucky because Stafford has to pull a rabbit out of the hat and be a magician. You see, but what happens when you have those games is you get into the fourth quarter and you know your best football has to be played. You play so many of those games in a row, you start to be programmed like you got to start playing that way every single down now. First quarter through the fourth quarter, so you only figure out one way to play. It's that fourth quarter way. It seems like that's where they're getting to now. I really like the Detroit Lions. I think they're a good team. I'd like to see them get after the passer more. I mean, they can't. I mean, they're one of the worst in the league in terms of sacking the quarterback. Zeke Yanda, he's been hurt. I don't think he has a sack. That's going to hurt them because the way you finish games offensively, the way they do it with Stafford in that offense, there's going to be a time where it's a 3 to 4 point game, and their defense is going to have to finish. And the finishers are usually on the defensive line, sacking the quarterback, strip sacking the quarterback, causing the pressure that throws to make the quarterback throw an interception. That's what they don't have. So can they stay away from that and be the team that wins by 10 plus? I don't know.
Of the potential playoff teams within the NFC, who have you lost the most faith in?
Who have I lost the most faith in terms of potential playoff? Let's see. I still haven't written off the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think they're surging. Possibly the Green Bay Packers because I'm not sure about that Rodgers injury. I'd like
What
to
about
see
Atlanta?
him play.
What about Atlanta?
Atlanta has the finishing aspect, I think, if Vic Beasley continues to rush the passer like he is. Worried about the Julio Jones injury now. Looks like he may not go this week, but offensively, if Julio is not
He's
there...
going to play. He's going to play. He's going to play.
He's going to play.
Oh, I'm sorry. He's not playing. I apologize. He's not playing. He's not playing.
Right.
You're right. He's not playing.
Right. Now, the thing with Atlanta, Stephen A., I don't know if I can get over how I viewed them in the past and not being mentally tough about not being able to finish the year or finish a playoff game or finish off an opponent, how they get into a lull. Vic Beasley starting to talk me out of that because of the play that he's been and the pass rush has had. You know, I mean, can the offense still be explosive? Yes, but I still haven't made a conclusion on them yet. I'm looking to in the next few weeks.
Teddy Bruschi's right here with Stephen A. Sirius XM Mad Dog Sports Radio. Before I let you get on out of here, is there anybody you think can mess with New England in the AFC, particularly now that they acquired Michael Floyd? And what do you think about picking up Michael Floyd?
Michael Floyd, I'm not getting excited about at all. I don't even know how much of a contributor he will be. I mean, you have to spoon feed him in terms of this system that there are. I mean, this is week 15, week 16, late in the season now. This system is fully installed with everyone there. So he would just you'd have to spoon feed him. Like, here's your 5 plays. This is all we need you for. This is what you'll do when you come in. So I don't know. He wasn't doing very well in Arizona at points this year too. Also, so we'll see if they can get this kid going. But what the Patriots did last week against the Ravens was very impressive to me. I thought that would be a more contested game. And without Cyrus Jones, fumbling the punt and then Slater, those 2 quick turnovers, without that, borderline, that could have been a blowout. So them handling the Ravens, whom is a team that isn't scared to go in there and play them and just handle them easily like that, minus those turnovers, that shows me if there was one team, NFC or AFC, that a team that you have to deal with, it's the New England Patriots. I don't know if anyone in the AFC is going to.
Teddy Bruschi, always appreciate you, my brother. Have a happy holiday, my man. We'll talk soon.
Merry Christmas, brother.
All right, buddy. The one and only Teddy Bruschi right here with Stephen A. Sirius XM Mad Dog Sports Radio, 888 Mad Dog 6 is always the number to call up. This 888-623-3646. We're going to handicap this Vegas style. R.J. Bell. Handicap out of Vegas, founder for pregame.com. He's up next with Stephen A. on Mad Dog. Press. His Twitter handle is at RJ in Vegas. I'm talking about the one and only RJ Bell. He's live with Stephen A. on Mad Dog. What's going on, my man? How are you?
Hey, Stephen, big weekend of games.
Exactly. Let's get right to it because we got so many to get to. Saturday game for a change. I don't know how much this is worth, but then again, Jets won a game. Miami's -2.5 at the New York Jets, still vying for a playoff spot. What do you make of all of this?
Yeah, I think both teams, you're going to see max motivation. And late in the year, we'll be talking about this every week, which teams are fully motivated, which teams maybe not. And it's important to clarify, when we say a team isn't max motivated, we're not saying they're trying to throw the game, anything like that, but rather it's that last 10 minutes, right? It's Tuesday night, you're watching film, it's 8:30 p.m. Do you watch just 10 more minutes? units. And the difference in the NFL, as we talked last week, a matter of inches, that can mean a lot. But I think because this is a big rivalry, we're going to see both teams max motivated. Matt Moore, not a huge downgrade. Obviously, the idea of Tannehill, he's the starter, he's the bigger name. Vegas is only downgrading Miami about 1.5 points for Matt Moore, so pretty modest. But I think this is the stat of the week. Miami in December, 1-12 against the spread, last 13. And if you go all the way back to 1989, so this is decades, Miami in December, 44-70 against the spread. These warm weather teams, once it gets cold, it is tough, and that's a key factor this weekend, so I would lean towards the Jets.
Dallas, one of the biggest games of the week. They are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are +7 at Dallas. Explain that one.
Yeah, let's talk about Tampa Bay streak. So, first of all, do you believe in the Bucs? I haven't heard about your opinion yet.
I believe in them defensively. I'm not sure about them offensively, but defensively, particularly over the last 5 games where they only given up 12.5 points per game and got 14 takeaways, I'm believing them in that regard.
I agree with you. Last 5 games, as you said, right around a little less than 13 points. Week 1 through 9, Tampa Bay, 29 points a game. We might say, is that they haven't really been playing anyone? Well, they were underdogs in 4 of the 5 of those games. So obviously tough games. I think it's all about defensive coordinator Mike Smith, formerly head coach at Atlanta. And this is what you see consistently year in and year out. When you have a new coordinator with a new scheme, the first half of the year, they tend to underperform because the team is still getting used to that scheme. Once people are pessimistic and down on them, that unit, they tend to overperform, and that's what we've seen here with Tampa. Let's talk offensively with Tampa. Is no doubt about it. Winston getting a lot of credit, getting a lot of love, top pick in the draft. But it's Doug Martin, a guy at running back, not a huge name, but quite a good back. When he's on the field with Winston, on a per-throw basis, Winston throws for about 40% more yards every throw. That's a huge, huge difference. Quickly, let's look at the Cowboys. Last 2 weeks, not good. On third down, 2 of 24 for Dak. I think it's the rookie wall. These rookies are not used to playing a 14th, 15th, 16th game. And I think that's a big factor for the Cowboys, especially with Elliott, another rookie. Is this just an aberration the last couple weeks, or is this a matter of them hitting the wall? I lean towards Tampa Bay getting the full touchdown.
We're talking to R.J. Bell right here with Stephen A. Sirius XM Mad Dog Sports Radio. Let's go to the Detroit Lions at the New York Giants. +4. Explain that one.
All right, Lions are the underdog getting the 4. I think both of these teams are overrated, and it's for the same reason. Close wins. Close wins are oftentimes a coin flip. We see it all the time. 44-yard field goal, make it, you win, miss it, you lose. And, yeah, we can say, that kicker's clutch and all that, but really, they're coin flips. In close games, the Giants, less than a touchdown, 7-1. That's great, but man, oh man, that's not sustainable. Then you look at Detroit. They've been behind in every fourth quarter except one this year. Only one time have they not trailed in the fourth quarter. And I think you could say, Stafford's throwing so effectively, maybe they can throw from behind better than the average team. And I think there's some truth to that. But still, you're not supposed to win all of those games. If just 2 of those coin flips went against Detroit, they'd be 7-6, and the narrative would be very, very different. But here's the reason I love the Giants. I love them here. It's because if Stafford's finger, he hurt his finger last week. After that injury, he played horribly. I mean, really bad, Stephen, after that injury. Now, if his finger is 100% this week, I think this line is about right. So if you bet the Giants, laying 4.5, it doesn't matter which team you have. I think the line's about right. But I think there's a real chance Stafford's still going to be less than 100%. And if so, I think the Giants are a great bet. If someone told me for sure that Stafford is less than 100% with that finger, I'd love the Giants here. So I don't know for sure, but I know there's a real chance, and that's the way wise guys think. If they have a 50% chance of a great bet and a 50% chance of a coin flip, they're going to take it. Giants.
RJ Bell right here with Stephen A. Sirius XM Mad Dog Sports. Let's keep it going. The Philadelphia Eagles +6 at the Baltimore Ravens. Too generous?
I think this is disrespect for the Ravens, to be honest with you, because if you really look at the record, I mean, Philly, we still have that lingering narrative, not totally, but somewhat in our head of, okay, Wentz, he's pretty good, and, the trend line probably isn't horrible, but this team is 2-8, Philadelphia, their last 10. And you got a Baltimore team that played a really good game. Now, obviously, there were some special teams advantages against New England, and they got somewhat lucky. But, I mean, Baltimore is a playoff competitor at home. We talk about it all the time. Home field advantage is worth 3. So they're only saying Baltimore about 3 points better on a neutral than Philly. I think that's showing a lot of disrespect for Baltimore. And I also think the following. I haven't heard as much negativity about a head coach in the NFL as we're hearing about for the Eagles head coach. There's
Explain. Doug Peterson, what are you hearing in Vegas?
Is he just wasn't ready. Is that, it was a superficial hire that they said, okay, this guy, Andy Reid, Kansas City's doing well. He's the offensive coordinator. This offense seems really good. Let's hire him. And Andy Reid, obviously a good coach. But on the other hand, he wasn't even calling the plays in Kansas City. So you had a guy who wasn't even a full offensive coordinator. In name he was, but not really when it came to responsibility. And now you're making him the head coach. Now, I'm not saying, listen, we always got to be sensitive of critiquing someone who is Peterson knows more football than I'll ever know. That's not the question. The question is, amongst the 32 head coaches, how good is he? And right now, he might be one of the worst. And that's something that the people that watch the tape here in Vegas, and there's handicappers that watch the all 22, they really feel like they're getting out schemed week in and week out. So I actually lean towards Baltimore here, laying the 6.
Washington was -7. Now it's been dropped to 5.5. I'm sorry, it was -7. Now it's -5.5. It's Green Bay at Chicago. It's at 5.5. Why the drop?
Well, a lot of Chicago money moving the line, and I agree with that move a lot. And here's why. First of all, let's give Aaron Rodgers some credit because, we all have been questioning him, earlier in the year, right? You were probably a little questioning, right, on Aaron?
Sure.
All right, we all were. If you look at it, though, 22-3 is his touchdown to interception ratio the last 7 games. 22-3, that's amazing. So Green Bay's won 3 straight must-win games. Give him a ton of credit. Here's the thing, though, is Aaron Rodgers' calf is less than 100%. Obviously, he's going to play. That's the expectation. But if you're laying a big number on the road and it's really cold, and remember, this is going to be the coldest game of the year, is the projection so far, is in Chicago. Do you really think if Green Bay gets up, let's say, 10-3 or 17-10, are they really going to be pressing and throwing a bunch, or are they going to sit on that lead and feel good that Barkley's not going to be able to bring Chicago back? So anytime you have a favorite who has a real inclination, Stephen, to be conservative when they get a lead, you've got to like the underdog. Because if you think about the possible outcomes, one is, hey, this is a really close game from start to finish. And if so, Chicago's a great bet, right? Getting, let's say +5.5, +6. But the other alternative is, well, Green Bay gets out to a lead. If they can't extend that lead, or at least they're not willing to take the risk to their quarterback to extend it, that leaves Chicago the chance to kick a late field goal and only lose by 4. So it really is, if you're going to lay a big number, that team cannot be afraid to extend the lead. And I think Green Bay is disinclined to do that. That's why all the pros, or most of them, have bet the Bears.
RJ Bell right here with Stephen A. Sirius XM Mad Dog Sports Radio. Let's go to Indianapolis. They're +4 at Minnesota. What's up?
Well, I think it's another sign of disrespect. In this case, I think it's for the Colts. I mean, but maybe not, because, I mean, Minnesota's 7-6. I think these are two teams that, quite frankly, are a little disappointing. I think they're both motivated, though. Zimmer is such a motivator. I don't think you're going to see Minnesota not go the whole way. To me, the real takeaway here is this. This is pretty much a simple handicap. Andrew Luck on the road in his career is 18-18 straight up. At home, 26-11. Now, home field is valuable, no doubt, but very few quarterbacks or teams have a split like that. 26-11 at home, 18-18 on the road. On the other hand, this new stadium for Minnesota is one of the best home field advantages in the entire NFL. Literally, we're talking about Seattle number 1, Green Bay number 2, New England number 3, and likely Minnesota now number 4. That wasn't the case before this new stadium. So you got a horrible road team with a really good home team. I would lean towards the Vikings.
Tennessee +5 at Kansas City.
I like the Titans here, and I think it's another example of weather playing such a big role. So one of the trends that we've been following closely, and this is a great big picture trend for the listeners, is Southern teams, where the weather's usually, not super cold, are 0-7 this year against the spread in the last 3 weeks when they play in cold weather. It's just, you just aren't used to it. And now what you got is cold, that's super cold in Kansas City this week. So you might say, well, Tennessee's sort of Southern. Does it apply? I don't think so. And here's why. What happens when when it's so cold? You have to run the ball. Let's compare the running. Right? Tennessee, the third best running team in the NFL. We saw it last week, 180 yards against Denver. Tennessee, really good running. Kansas City, number 25 running the ball. So I think it is a situation where the cold is an advantage actually for Tennessee. And on the other hand, you've got this Kansas City team that in the last 6 games, they've been outgained by 543 yards. So think about that. 6 games, almost 100 yards a game. They've been outgained, but they're 5-1. Now, you might say, oh, it's the intangibles. It's Andy Reid. And I think there's some truth to that, but some of it is they're just getting somewhat lucky. So I think whenever you have a team whose record is better than how good they really are, you look to fade them. And I think Tennessee might be better than their record, so I'm going with the Titans +5.
I don't really care about the Jacksonville Jaguars, but there are some who do, and they are +5.5 at Houston. Why?
Give me the names of who cares about this game.
I don't know.
We're going to assume, right? So we'll do it quickly.
That's right.
So Jacksonville 5.5 underdog here. I mean, Houston's a type of team, literally, if you look at our Vegas power rankings, we rank them 1 to 32, the NFL teams, every week from a Vegas perspective. And right now we have Houston number 25. So not a very good team at all for being, very competitive in the division. Impressive win last week. So we know they're going to, being in the playoff hunt, they're going to be motivated. Jacksonville, you just got to wonder, quite frankly, about what the motivation is. The coach is out the door. Bortles looks like he might be out the door. This is one of those games, big question mark motivationally, so I would lean towards Houston.
All right, here with Stephen A. Mad Dog Sports Radio. New Orleans +3 at Arizona. That makes it an even up.
Yeah, so this is assuming these are even teams. I actually like Arizona here. 2 reasons. One, I think the Saints are on a sharp downtrend. Even 2 weeks ago, prior to the last 2 games, there was talk of the Saints being underrated, a potential sneaking in to make the playoffs. Their last 2 weeks have been their 2 worst games. That doesn't mean that continues, but that's concerning late in the year with an older quarterback. We saw it with Peyton Manning over the last year and the year before. He played pretty well early, and then usually he slowed down late. Now, last year he got injured, and then he was able to take a break. But in general, these older quarterbacks get beat up throughout the year, and they play worse later. So I think we're seeing some of that potentially with the Saints. On the other hand, Arizona, obviously their coach, very much a motivator, very much a type that's going to finish the season off, you would think, Bruce Arians. So it's that motivation edge for Arizona, Stephen, plus one other thing. Arizona has a sneaky good home field. We just ticked off the 4 best home fields, with Minnesota being 4. You know who's 5? Probably Arizona. Here's a stat that backs that up. Since 2013, whenever they've played at home versus a non-division team, which means they're not familiar with Arizona Stadium because they don't play them every year there, Arizona in those games, 19-1 straight up. 19 of 20. They've dominated non-division opponents. We're only laying 3. I lean towards Arizona.
San Francisco's plus 14 at Atlanta. Is that too low?
I like San Fran here. Now that listen, obviously it's all about the 14. And the old saying is amateur bettors bet teams, professional bettors bet numbers. So I like the number here. I don't like San Francisco as a team, but here's why I like the number. I think Atlanta last week, that win against the Rams was so deceiving. They had 2 returns for touchdowns, defensive type returns for touchdowns. And I think the offense right now is a little thin at receiver. Jones has been hurt. Sanu's been hurt. Their left tackle, Matthews, been hurt. I'm not, we don't know for sure and all those people who's going to play Sunday, but especially if Atlanta's thin at receiver, it's hard to lay over or 2 touchdowns if you're not going to be able to throw the ball well. I got a feeling Atlanta has a workmanlike victory here, which means plus 14 is the smarter side with San Francisco.
New England, minus 3 at Denver. Big game.
Yeah, I tell you, I don't lay points on the road. We've done this for years now, Stephen, but I like the Patriots here. One, they're so good with revenge. Now, what's revenge? Revenge is the last time a team played another team, that other team beat them, right? So now you got to get revenge. That's something back in the 80s and 90s, handicappers used to talk about all the time. I remember being in high school in the 80s, reading the handicapping magazines. It's true, I did. And it was revenge, revenge, revenge. And nowadays, coaches don't think as much like that. But man, oh man, Belichick does. When he has revenge against the team, 48-24 against the spread. He wins double as much as he loses when he has revenge. And obviously, Denver knocked them out of the playoffs last year, kept them from the Super Bowl. So a ton of revenge there. On the other hand, I look at Denver and I say, well, what was the makeup of that Super Bowl team? On one hand, it was a team that had an awesome defense, an all-time great defense, and they could run the ball like crazy. And passing was okay. Manning obviously wasn't the old Manning. Well, let's look at this year. This year, the defense against the pass for Denver is great. But against the run, they're below average. Let me say that again. Denver is below average against the run. Tennessee had 180 yards against them last week. We talked about that. Rushing. Number 2, they can't run the ball. Since C.J. Anderson's been out, Denver has not been able to run the ball. Last week was pathetic. Denver, 9 carries for 18 yards. Do you really let Simeon throw the ball 50 times off an injury if you have any thought that you can run the ball? So if you have an exploitable weakness, Belichick's going to find it. I have a feeling we're going to see the Patriots run the ball like 40 times in this game and really dominate. I would lean towards the Pats.
Oakland, minus 3 at San Diego.
Now, I know you don't like when I say this. I think the Raiders are one of the most overrated teams in the NFL. Now, why? A lot of close wins. That's something that is a reoccurring theme this week. When you win a lot of close games, that record just looks better than it should be. But I actually like the Raiders here. Here's why. Because on one hand, you've got an overrated Raiders team. On the other hand, you have a decimated, and I mean decimated, San Diego team when it comes to injuries. They were really bad off anyway. And then they lost Melvin Gordon, a guy without a huge name yet, but he was having a Pro Bowl season at running back. Who's replacing him? A undrafted rookie is replacing him. So to me, that drop-off is so big, it trumps anything else. There's just no playmakers on the San Diego side. So I'm going to go with the Raiders laying the points on the road. By the way, on the road, this is fascinating. The road team in Raiders games. So when the Raiders are at home, that's their opponent, right? It's the road team. When the Raiders are on the road, they're the road team, obviously. 15-2 against the spread. So the Raiders are a good road team. I'll take them here laying the 3.
-3, the Steelers at Cincinnati.
All right, so we've been talking motivation. You might look at Cincinnati and say they're out of the playoffs. They're used to playing in the playoffs. What's their motivation? Well, I think that late in the year with a disappointing team, you always want to find that one game that is like their Super Bowl, that if they can win that one game, usually against a rival, then they feel like, hey, it wasn't a good season, but at least we beat the Steelers. So I don't think there's going to be any question about Cincy's motivation. On the other hand, you can't forget how good Pittsburgh has been in Cincinnati. If you look at the stats, last 16 games in Cincinnati, 13-2-1, one push against the spread. 13-2-1. So why is that? Well, Big Ben is very comfortable in Ohio, and Cincinnati's only about 3 hours from Pittsburgh. Some people don't realize that. So you get a ton of Steeler fans that travel, and I think with Cincinnati being out of the playoffs, there's a better chance of Pittsburgh fans getting tickets. So I think the home field is worth less than you might think here. The absence of A.J. Green's a huge deal. He might be the most valuable non-quarterback in the NFL. That might shock some people, but he is so important to this Cincinnati offense. So I don't love it because 3's a big number on the road, but I would lean Pittsburgh.
Washington was +4.5, now +6.5. Carolina at Washington.
What caused that sigh right there, Steven?
I don't know. No, I was thinking it was Washington, but it says was, and then now it says now.
Oh, yes. So that's what I like to do is send you when there's a big line move, because that's a sign of a bunch of money. And what we've seen here is a bunch of money on Washington. And I think it makes sense. We've talked about motivation. You really got to wonder what is the motivation for Carolina here. They got embarrassed by Seattle on Monday night, so they felt like they had to redeem themselves. They stepped up and did last week. Kudos. And I know it's Monday Night Football, but still, Cam Newton, big questions about his effort level. Does he really want to get hit, right? Because Cam Newton, when he doesn't run the ball, is an average quarterback at best. When he runs the ball, we saw last year, he can be elite, right? Not every week, but he can be elite. Does he really want to run the ball in what effectively is a meaningless game? If so, I'll tip my hat to him. History tells me he won't very much, and if he doesn't, that's a big negative for Carolina. I think that's one of the reasons there's been a bunch of Washington money. Last thing on this game is Coach Rivera, and if you listen to the press conferences, you read the accounts, you really get a feel of what these coaches feel. He said his offensive line situation, quote unquote, is catastrophic. So when you have a coach using words like that, that's a sign. Not only is their center out, their second string center is out. Horribly banged up Carolina's offensive line. I like Washington less than a touchdown over Carolina.
Always appreciate you, buddy. Enjoy the weekend, man. We'll talk next Friday.
Thank you, Stephen.
One and only RJ Bell right here with Stephen A. Sirius XM Mad Dog Sports Radio, 888 Mad Dog 6 is always the number to call up. That's 888-623-3646. Your phone calls to close out the show in a minute with Stephen A. on Mad Dog.
Mad Dog Sports Radio.
HR Solution may get you from day to day, but is your employee information only accurate-ish? Are you comfortable with your business being compliant-ish? What happens when your private data is secure-ish? And when your customers come calling, will they deal with service that's just personal-ish? Good thing there's a better HR solution. Good thing there's Paychex. Their fully integrated HR solution delivers one consistent employee record for accurate and secure data across your payroll, HR, retirement, and insurance. They work beside you, too, so they know your business personally. Don't settle for just anything-ish. Compare your HR system to Paychex at betterhr.com. That's betterhr.com. 46 minutes. Past hour number 2, back here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, Sirius XM Mad Dog Sports Radio. We'll get back to the phones. A reminder, or just for your piece of information. Adrian Peterson has practiced the last couple of days, and it is believed Adrian Peterson will step back into the lineup to run for the Minnesota Vikings this weekend. It's not definitive yet, but they're reporting that he probably will do it. Just letting y'all know that. Let's get back to the phones at 888 Mad Dog 6. It's 888-623-3646. Let's go to Josh in Houston. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Josh?
Hi, how you doing, Stephen A? I'm a big fan of yours, but I have a question that even though Tom Brady missed 4 games, will he still be considered the MVP of the NFL?
To me, he will if he keeps going at the rate he's going. He's got 22 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions, got a QBR of 89, a quarterback rating of 113, number 1 in QBR, number 1 in quarterback rating. He's only thrown two interceptions. He's completing 68% of his passes. What's there to talk about? And they're winning. Everybody's falling off to some degree. Derek Carr's falling off a little bit. Matt Ryan is falling off a little bit. Andrew Luck ain't even been in the conversation. Now there's Russell Wilson. Dak Prescott, his numbers don't compare as far as I'm concerned. I think he's done an outstanding job for a rookie. But at the same time, listen, I can count on 2 fingers how many 300-yard games he's had. He's had a lot of 100-plus yards games. He's been very pedestrian at times. He's just smart, and he doesn't turn the ball over most of the time.
Stephen, I have one more question. If Dallas and Seattle meet in the NFC Championship, who do you got to win that game?
If Dallas and who meet?
Dallas and Seattle.
Right now, I'm still rolling with Seattle. I can't pick Dallas. I'm allergic to that. But I will tell you that their running game makes me scared. And Seattle's running game also makes me scared for different reasons. They can't run the football right now. That's what I will tell you. All right? Appreciate the call. Daniel in Maryland, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Stephen, Kings fan, kind of like my inspiration.
I need you to speak up, bro. I can't hear you. We can't hear you. Go ahead.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, just talk a little louder. Go ahead.
All right. I spoke with you back in May when I asked you about the chances of Tampa Bay Buccaneers, how they look for the upcoming season.
Okay.
And but now that we have turned things around a little bit, if we pull off these last 4 games, the last 3 games, including the one with Dallas, we think our chances will be pushing for the Super Bowl if we
you talking about Tampa?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You have no running game. Your offense is suspect and you have no running game. Your defense has really shown up over the last 5 weeks.
Right.
But your running game is highly suspect.
But even if it change, even if it, we get on board and it turns around with
Doug
Martin,
bro. You got a chance because defensively y'all are in every game. That keeps y'all in the games. So you got a chance. I'm just saying you wouldn't be my favorite.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, the more speaking with my heart,
I know.
and the fan in me.
It's all right. Good luck with that, though. We'll see. Donald in Tennessee, you're live with Stephen A. What's up, Donald?
How's it going, Stephen A?
Talk to me.
What I wanted to ask you about with the Seattle situation and Richard Sherman them going off on him, maybe they're showing they want to show different looks just as to have other teams worry about, just like with the fake kick and the pass on the goal line. They're still showing that just to give their offense more room so the defense have more to think about when they're in those situations.
Maybe. I don't know. I just know that Richard Sherman, again, I don't condone him calling anybody out. Henry, that caller, was absolutely right and pointed that out to me. But I don't blame him for being frustrated at some of the chances that Pete Carroll and Darrell Bevell choose to take. I certainly can understand where he's coming from in that regard. 888 Mad Dog 6 is always the number to call up. That's 888-623-3646. Let's go to Sean in Detroit. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Sean?
How you doing, Stephen A. Smith?
I'm good. Talk to me.
Good. I just wanted to get your take on this. If whatever happened to the Cowboys happened to the Patriots, and so let's say the Patriots win 11-2 for Dak Prescott, would you bench Tom Brady for Dak Prescott?
Would I bench Tom Brady
for Dak Prescott?
Why the hell would I do that?
If the same situation happened to the New England Patriots with the Cowboys, would you ever?
Yes. You know why? No, actually, let me take that back. No, I would not. Do you know why?
Why?
Because Tom Brady's a 4-time Super Bowl champion. Tony Romo has 2 playoff wins.
even how well Dak Prescott's been playing, you still wouldn't.
If Tom Brady, a 4-time Super Bowl champion, comes back and he's healthy, I would give the nod to Tom Brady because he's a 4-time Super Bowl champion.
Okay.
Tony Romo never even made it to a conference championship game. It's apples and oranges.
Yes.
It's a crazy question. Goodbye. Deron in South Carolina. You're live with Stephen A. I'm Mad Dog. What's up?
Hey, Stephen A., what's going on, man? I just want to talk about the Atlanta Falcons. Considering how they
got a minute. Go ahead. You only got a minute. Go ahead.
Considering how they fell off last year, do you think they can make the playoffs and make a deep run?
I think they can make the playoffs. A deep run is asking for a little bit too much, Darren, because they got to show me they can win playoff games. And they can run the football and they can defend. That's what I need to see. I believe in Matt Ryan. I believe in Julio Jones. I believe in Mohamed Sanu. I believe Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman and the crew. I believe in them. But they got to show me they can do it when the moment calls for it. That's what I need to see from Atlanta. Got to get on out of here. Mad Dog Russo's up next with his afternoon drive show. This is Stephen A. Smith signing off until Monday afternoon at 1 p.m. I'll be there. Same bad time, same bad channel. Holla at y'all on Monday. Have a wonderful week and God bless. Mad Dog Russo up next.
Mad Dog